Welcome to another in the series, Sip and Chat, a place where we talk about the goodness of the Lord in the land of the living. It's our pleasure this afternoon to be coming into your homes and to be talking about the goodness of the Lord. Welcome to another in the series, Sip and Chat. It's our pleasure to be joining you in your living room, wherever you are this evening sipping. It's indeed a pleasure to be in your homes. This is a program where we talk about the goodness of the Lord in the land of the living. And this evening, it's another exciting program where we're going to delve deep into the whole issue of goal setting. And one might say in this time of the pandemic, goal setting, can't we just wait and see what's going to happen or wait until after the pandemic? Well, this afternoon, I have a very, very special guest, one who has been around the corporate circles and know a lot about this topic that we're about to be discussing. And her name is Miss Odette Baugh. And she'll be sharing with us today on this whole matter, especially from a Christian perspective as well, because a lot of us believe that the Lord will and we just trust the Lord. But I've always been told the Lord works with something. So you have to learn what is in your hand. That's what they told Moses, what is in your hand. So you can't just sit around and do absolutely nothing. Sometimes you just have to make a move. And that's what we're going to talk about today. How do you make a move in the time of crisis? And to set the tone today, I want to just introduce my guest. Her name is, as I said before, Miss Odette Baugh. Tell us a little bit about who Odette is for our listeners.
Thank you, Dr. Lee. Good evening, everyone. Odette is somebody who enjoys self-care.
Self-care.
I am big on self-care and working hard. So I try to balance both. What's important for me and some of the things that I believe in is just being able to develop a relationship with the Lord. That's critical for me. So I frame my life around that. I frame my life around work and delivering on results and also enjoying family time. And not on the other end, I also enjoy crafting.
Oh, interesting. So one of the things I want to talk about today, Odette, so I heard you talk about it very early, self-care. A lot of people don't talk about that, this whole matter of taking care of yourself and making sure me in the equation is taken care of. Now, this afternoon, we're going to talk about the whole matter of goal setting. And even from a Christian perspective, first of all, should Christians, sometimes we can live in this bubble of just self-righteous, the Lord will, and so on. And we don't make a move to go and accomplish things. Tell us a little bit about how important what is goal setting and how important it is.
Goal setting is a good opportunity to manifest the things that are in our heart. The things that you may have thought about, you have shared with others. Putting it down on paper. I always have a little book. Right, this pretty one.
Right.
Right? It's important that you write the goals down and tell yourself, I'm setting this timeline and I hope to achieve this in this timeline. So that is what basic goal setting really is.
So I'm hearing you say something very important. So to our listeners, we have a lot of dreamers in the world, but that's just what they are. They are dreamers. Until the dreams come out of our heads, out of our spirit, deep down into our soul, and they become reality, whether on paper or you put them on your laptop or your vision board, until they come from within us and they manifest on some form of written thing, They're just dreams. And I heard somebody say that the graveyard is one of the richest places on earth. And I think because a lot of times what people do is that they just dream. I wish. I wish. But you have to do something. You have to do something. Now, one of the things there are some key things that we need to consider when we're setting goals. We've heard about them. Talk to us about the SMART concept when we're setting goals as individuals.
All right, so you know about being specific.
Exactly.
Your goals must be specific, must be measurable, attainable, realistic, and time-bound.
Are very important. So when you talk about specific now, give us some examples of some goals that persons will want to set that are just out there.
All right, so persons will want to set things. For example, they'll say, I want to own a house. Right? But you have to be a little bit more specific. I would love to own a 2-bedroom house in a gated community.
Very important. As I talk about that, so I was just laughing because a lot of people, when they say, what is your goal? Me want rich. But what exactly is rich? To a man who has $200 in the bank, getting $500 is rich. But what could $500 do? And then to another person who has like 20 million and need $13 million more, they need to get a lot more money. So it's very important that we're very specific in our goals. And after specific, we have what? After the
Measurable.
Measurable. Speak to us now, but we want to go through our time for all our viewers who are listening this afternoon, because we know that they're great. We talk a lot of time and say, I know the plans that the Lord has for me. They're big plans, they're great plans. And God has already spoken to a lot of persons in their heart in terms of what to do. But the way how they lay out those goals are just not the right way. So that's why we're here this afternoon to help you, to guide you along that path of accomplishing your dreams. All right. So talk to us a little bit more on being measurable goals.
All right. So your goals can be measurable. For example, if you desire, let's use my example.
Mm-hmm.
So a few years ago, I wanted to go to school overseas.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't know how it's going to happen because it's so expensive.
Right.
But I knew that within a certain time and by a certain age, I wanted to accomplish that. So I set out to save continuously. And when the time came, I ensured that I was able to say, okay, it's within this age and I have X amount and I'm ready to go for it.
Right.
So I was able to measure to say, all right, I'm closer to achieving it. How am I going to do it?
So for some persons who are saying, how do I measure? For example, sometimes, you want to buy something, you can't even make a time chart. And then as you move along, say you have a goal of $1 million and you want to accomplish that thing. So you have your little time, you have your time chart or a dollar, we probably should have brought one of those to show viewers. And then as you go incrementally, you're able to see how you're moving along. And that is very important because it motivates you. Sometimes we're saving and we're not really, because we don't know exactly what we want to do. Even if we have this lump sum and we come into a lump sum, we don't move. I remember Odette, one time we were having this discussion back in the days when we were talking about even the whole sip and chat or just goals in general. I remember you saying to me, Leleith, if you got just said money was limitless and you got all that money, what exactly would you do? And I stood there smiling as if, and she's like, no, it's not a smiling matter. It's about focusing. What exactly would you want to do? And then for a moment there, I looked and I realized myself that a lot of us say, well, we want some money. We want to come into some cash. We want to do this. But in terms of the specificity of what is it that we want that to do, we have not stated it. And so we can't measure it, right? So SMA, it must be attainable. Go ahead with that one as well.
I want to visit the moon.
Right.
I cannot visit the moon right now.
Okay.
That's not attainable.
Right.
So you want to set goals that you can reach to.
Right.
Goals that won't frustrate you. Right.
Now you touch on for something very important, because what we're understanding now is that when the goals are far-fetched, sometimes when I say far-fetched, I mean almost incredible, you also frustrate yourself, because sometimes what we do is that we set short time frames. And we are hoping that within that time, based on the resources that we see, even though we live by faith, and when we don't come into what we want to accomplish, we become very frustrated. And I think that's one of the things that why persons don't oftentimes accomplish goals, because they're not set within the smart parameters. And then when they become overwhelmed now, they just give up on their dreams. So you're affirming to us today that the goals need to be attainable, not just specific and smart, which means I'm not just specific as in the smart, but they must also be very attainable.
You just started working. Mm-hmm. You won't be able to afford a BMW right now.
All things being equal, right?
All things being equal,
right?
Right, so you want to set goals that are realistic for you.
Right, and that's also very important. And what about time bound? SMART, time bound, timely. Mm-hmm.
For everything that you want to do, right, and we want to achieve, we have to say, all right, I intend to do it by X time.
Right.
And reach for it. It might seem difficult, but reach within that time. So 2 years, here are my 1 year goals, here are my 2 year goals, my 5 year goals. So if you're going to start a job, I always use this principle whenever I'm starting that job. What are the 3 things that I want to achieve here?
Okay.
And I write them down. Mm-hmm. And I always have a notebook, as I tell you, and I leave them there. I say, all right. Or if I'm on vacation, what are the 3 things that I want to do while I'm here or I'm traveling to England? and I make sure that I pull out all the stops to make those 3 things happen. So at the end of the day, I feel like I've achieved something.
So if I'm understanding you correctly, what you're saying is that it's always very important to prepare. And as I think it was Benjamin Franklin who said, if we fail to prepare, we must prepare to fail. And so a lot of persons don't accomplish a lot of things, not because they're not enlightened, not because they don't have a lot of wisdom, but because simply they have not prepared themselves for the next move. And a lot of people talk about the next big thing, man. But how have you put yourself, even in terms of our work, promotion, their opportunities? Say, for example, this time you heard that there was going to be this promotion. And I really want to emphasize to us as Christians sometimes that I really believe in faith. I'm a 100% faith backer. But I believe that faith comes by hearing and hearing the word of God. And we must always put ourselves in a position where we work the word. We prepare ourselves. We go back to school. We do what is necessary to cause us to accomplish our goals. So I want to endorse what you have said, that what we need to do a lot of times is put ourselves in good stead, right? So a promotion is coming up. You can't just sit and say, boy, a long time of the year, and them pass me over and gotta go this. No, have you prepared yourself for that role? Last time the opportunity probably came up and you know that it was because they said that you need to have like a bachelor's or whatever. And you know that you still have your certificate. Yes, God can give you that job as well. But we must always make sure that we prepare ourselves for opportunities. And even in church too.
Right. Even in church.
Even in church, sometimes we want positions in church. And when we don't get them, we get frustrated. And how have we equipped ourselves to be the best usher? How have we equipped ourselves to be even an intercessor? And yes, we have the calling. But sometimes there are things that we need to do to make ourselves ready. A lot of persons, of course, want the mic. They want to be the preacher. But there's more to preaching than just taking a mic. Because I've always remember somebody saying that your gifting will take you places, but it's the anointing that keeps you there. So sometimes the way to go up is to go down. And it's not a bad thing, but that going down time, to me, I believe, is that preparation time. So talk to us a little bit about preparation in terms of goals. How do we prepare ourselves mentally, physically? How do we do those things?
I'm glad you're asking this question. Mm-hmm. It's so relevant because in my field of work, I have to interview many people. And sometimes I'll interview somebody who they've been doing the job for 10 years, but the job requires a certification. Right. And you said, I wish I could just give this person the role, they're perfect. But it requires that.
That's correct.
So we have to have the conversation after to say, I think you should do 1, 2, 3. What's holding you back? So that kind of preparation is essential to take you where you want to be. And also, a few years ago, I was extremely shy. Okay. So I would write poetry a lot at home and my book again. So I would have my book and I write. And then I would feel inspired to go and share. So I would have the conversations with the Red Bones or wherever. And I would go and start sharing. Mm-hmm. And then a friend of mine introduced me to Toastmasters.
Toastmasters, right.
She said, go. And I had to take the elevator up to where the meeting was, and I was scared. But I pressed through and I kept going until I was president and I served. And in serving, I found my confidence. I found a part of me that I would have never realized if I didn't step out and start doing things and start giving speeches and start learning how to do it, how to relate to people, how to engage the audience, how to prepare a speech, how to present a speech, how to critique a speech. So that journey of serving, leadership, doing all those things has helped me tremendously to be the person that I am today. And it didn't come overnight. It came with volunteering. It came with saying yes. It came with preparing. It came with doing the work behind the scenes. And so
I'm so inspired today. I'm so inspired just talking to you because one of the things that we do, one of the things that we need to understand is that we have to make a move. And, I recall the story about the men with leprosy who sat by the gate during this time of famine in Samaria. And, I always found the story so profound because here are these men sitting at the gate, right, because they're ostracized because of the leprosy that they had. And they're outside of the gate, right, and there's a famine in the city. And I don't know, it's like within their situation, within their discomfort, they began to reason among themselves. And as we talk about goals and so on, it just comes back to me. So these men reason with themselves. So listen, man, if we sit here, we shall surely die. We shall probably die of the leprosy. And if we go over to the camp of the Assyrians, they probably will kill us. So in any case, we will die. But guess what? We're not going to die without trying. And that's what I want to say to somebody today who is watching the program this afternoon. You have to make a move. You have to. You can't just sit down with your hands in your lap and say, boy, like manna is going to fall from the sky. It can fall from the sky. It has fell from the sky before. But we have to make up in our minds as individuals that we're going to do something about our situation. We have to make up our minds that we're going to do something about our situation. I want to talk to us, Odette, about even in this time of the pandemic, right? Where persons are saying that you still are dreaming about doing this, yet people still have their goals, and persons are saying you're still dreaming about doing so and so. Talk to us about planning even in the midst of a crisis.
So planning is like second nature to me. Mm-hmm. I love to have a plan. I always say to my friends, so what is your plan B? Mm-hmm. Say you're going to do that, you're going to drive that route, but do you know another route?
Right.
So they're always, but now we have a pandemic and everything seems impossible. Mm-hmm. We can't travel like we used to. We had all these plans, but you may not be able to do them the way you thought you would have.
Right.
So I had a particular goal in mind. There are two things that I was working on, two projects. One, I was exercising myself in the skills, my crafting skills,
okay,
and just making things on the weekend, or if I wake up at night, it's like 2 a.m., 3 a.m., and I would be sharing with others, and persons will call me and say, I want this. Mm-hmm. And I just started pressing through, like, this is COVID time now. We couldn't go anywhere.
Right.
So I had to find something to do to be productive within knowing that I had that goal in mind. So through it all, I decided to start writing down. Mm-hmm. And also I had a machine and I started working on the things. And persons came along and they liked the things and I got different orders. And I am busy by day. So there is no time to touch anything between Mondays and Fridays, between the regular working hours. So everything that I was doing and developing, I was doing it when everybody's sleeping.
Right.
2 a.m., between 2 a.m. and 4:30 a.m.
So what we're hearing is that amidst what you see around you sometimes, no matter how there's always a rainbow. No matter how it looks dark and dim, there is always a rainbow. And I just want to say to somebody as well that don't misinterpret the clouds. There's going to be a rainbow. Sometimes the showers just come to clear off the landscape. But if you stay long enough and continue pressing, you'll be able to see the rainbow that lies ahead of you. So what our guest is saying to us this afternoon is that even amidst the pandemic, you should still dream. You should still write down those goals. You should still forecast the goals as well and track them. Where are you today in relation to where you were a month ago? And it's real. So many persons have spoken about how in the midst of this pandemic, how they have unearthed new dreams, new talent. I've always wanted to write. I've always written. But even the pandemic, I found new skills that I had right there, because the things that you would normally do that would take you probably from home or take from a long time of just not being able to do certain things, had the luxury of that time to be able to just try out new stuff. So I want to say to somebody, what is your skill? Is it crafting, sewing? I mean, these cups, for example, that we use on Sip and Chat, they were done by Odette right in the pandemic, So I'm saying a lot of persons have their skills, but they just never use them. I saw a lady the other day, she just started doing another skilled area, doing some other thing with her hands, crochet and whatever. And she always had that skill, probably got laid off from her job, but there's an order out there for her. And that's what I want to say to people today. Don't stop dreaming. Put your goals on paper. Track them in the same manner. Probably 2020 wasn't your year, but guess what? You're alive in 2021. And there's a Spanish phrase that said, "Quiere es poder." Where there's a will, there is a way. So you can't afford to give up and say, boy, not going for me, right? I think after the Great Depression in the 1930s was when we always have a lot of great things happening. I think the trolley that they pushed right in the midst of the Great Depression that was invented and the concept came to the person. So in the midst of crisis, now things have a way of blooming, right? Because it won't last forever. It won't last forever. All right, talk to us about what are the effects then if we don't plan? What are the effects of not planning?
Oh, disappointment.
Wow.
Wondering what if.
Oh gosh.
In one of my poems, I speak about not knowing or wishing I had understood the talents and the gifts completely that God had inside of me. I could have expressed them more.
Mm-hmm.
So planning gives you that opportunity to express, to be, to soar, to be more than you ever thought you could be. Just laying down what is it that you desire, what you hope for, and having steps to get there. And it makes you feel good, make you feel accomplished. So failure to do that, disappointment, hurt, regret.
And frustration as well.
And frustration.
And I can imagine that the persons who are in the path would also be affected by it. There's this quote as well by Gloria Steinem that says, without leaps of imagination, of dreaming, we lose the excitement of possibilities. We have to dream, you know. Dreaming, after all, is a form of planning as well, because we have in our heads what we want to do. And then as the days go by, we begin to see things coming into reality. One of the things with persons, Odette, is that if you have your goals and, you know, I plan to do this and it don't happen in the time, I give up. I can't bother. You know, some people in Jamaica, you know, they will say, boy, I miss out the bad luck. And, you know, it just never happen, probably because people like to map up themselves or size up themselves against other persons. Oh, you know that my friend, she owned a business in 1 year and it started making a return on investment already. Talk to us about when you start new ventures, because I know you're an entrepreneur. You start new ventures and they don't work out as the way you want them to. Talk us about that whole ability to just rebound. Talk us a little bit about that and why it's important.
Rebounding is everything for an entrepreneur. You may have a particular way that you want to execute on a strategy that's in your heart. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't work out that way. Mm-hmm. Let me use an example. I like to use myself as an example. So I had a particular idea in mind in which I had a sense of excellence and I was working on it, started doing some programs, and I had persons come in and delivered some programs for me. Mm-hmm. Right? Web development, all those things. Went to Canada, so studying, and I had it manifest in such a way that I attracted Microsoft and they gave me their space, gave me software, gave me everything I needed. And I was like, God, so when it's going to happen the way I want it to happen? Mm-hmm. And I just watch the times, I watch it evolve. Okay, change it that way, fix it that way. And my friends would say, so you're not making it happen. Mm-hmm. But I know, even in this season, I see where the reach that I could have had is so much greater. How I wanted to execute, the sense that I would have gotten when I was overseas, all those overheads. The execution now in this season would be easier, would be cheaper, and I'm still having a greater reach across the world than I would have had 2 and a half years ago while I would have been in another nation.
Right.
So God has a way of working things through, even when you don't think it should have been that particular way.
Yes. That's why I tell you, Odette, it's so excited to talk to you. I know nobody will believe that you were shy, but it's so important. When you set goals, sometimes you're going to have some disappointing moments. You're going to have some moments when they say, boy, you know, I give up, I throw in the towel. I don't know what's happening here. But I just want to encourage us. You know, I say also because, you know, all of us got through these phases, but especially to our viewers this afternoon, when you set your goals, sometimes it doesn't just blossom as though you'd want it to. But keep fertilizing the dream, you know, keep putting things there and just nourish your seed and nourish your thought. I want to speak to us a little bit as well about how important it is as we dream and we have goals, how important it is to have positive people around us. Or is it important? Or you can just be a tonto, a lone ranger. How important it is to have people around you, you know, who are positive. Talk to us about that.
The people that you attract in your life is everything. They will feed into that dream, feed into your destiny, help you raise the spirits when you're feeling down and doesn't feel like it's going to happen. So you must have the right people. I was blessed with a mother who saw the talent in me before I really acknowledged it. I saw it to a certain extent, but I didn't acknowledge it. And she called it out and said, listen, you're good at this. Things are not working out the way. If not, it would have worked. Why don't you execute on this? And in following whatever. Well, at first I was like, maybe not.
Yeah, you know, we always have those hesitant
Right.
moments, right?
But then once I got to working, again, once I got to writing out the strategy, working it through, I realized that I was a natural. I realized that persons were attracted to it and they were drawn in. So what's important is that you must have the right people around you. One, the people who can call out your destiny, the people who can push you into your destiny. The ones who will challenge you and say, maybe not green. You could do purple instead.
Right.
The ones who will critique, like my brother would say, I call him a manager.
Okay.
Oh, that's lean.
Right.
But these people help you along the way and they bring that positive energy and they also balance, right? So it sets that platform for you to excel.
Very, very, very important. So one of the things that we're talking about today is that we need to have goals. Challenges are going to come, but the race is not for the swift, not the battle for the strong, but for those that can endure to the end. The time has just gone by so quickly. Our host is so engaging. I'm sure we have to have her back another time. But I want to say to all, keep dreaming. Where there's a will, there is a way. And there's nothing that is impossible as long as we hold on to the hand of the man who stills the water. Thank you so very much for joining us. And once again, thank you for joining us on Sip and the Chat. Continue sipping. Bye.